Have you ever watched someone smile at you, while secretly taking everything you worked for? I never believed that kind of betrayal could happen to me. Not until the day I walked into my office and saw another woman sitting in my chair, wearing my favorite color, holding my projects, and smiling as if she had always belonged there. At first, I thought it was just a misunderstanding. I had no idea that moment would begin the most painful chapter of my life. And I definitely didn't know that, in the end, the truth would find her long before I ever had to. My name is Emma. 3 years ago, I believed I had the perfect life. I loved my job at a marketing company. It wasn't glamorous, but I had built my career from nothing. Every late night, every missed holiday, every extra project had helped me earn the respect of my team. My boss often told me I was next in line for a promotion. Even my coworkers joked that my office already looked like a manager's office. Outside work, things seemed just as good. My boyfriend, Daniel, had been with me for almost 4 years. He wasn't perfect. Sometimes he forgot birthdays. Sometimes he came home late. But I trusted him completely. Trust is funny. You don't realize how valuable it is until someone quietly breaks it. Everything started changing after a new employee joined our company. Her name was Sophie. She was confident, friendly, always smiling. Everyone seemed to like her within days. Even I welcomed her. I showed her where everything was. Helped her understand the software. Introduced her to the clients. She thanked me over and over. "You've been so kind," she said. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Looking back, those words feel almost painful. Because I was helping the very person who would slowly take my place. At first, nothing seemed strange. Then little things started happening. A client I had worked with for months suddenly thanked Sophie for ideas that I had created. A presentation I spent an entire weekend preparing was introduced in a meeting under Sophie's name. When I asked about it, my manager simply smiled. "You two work so closely now," he said. "It doesn't really matter." But it mattered to me. Because nobody even asked my permission. Still, I convinced myself not to overthink it. Maybe it was just poor communication. Maybe everyone was stressed. Maybe I was imagining things. Then Daniel mentioned Sophie, casually, almost too casually. "Oh," he said one evening. "I think I've seen your new coworker before." I looked up. "You know Sophie?" He shrugged. "Not really. Maybe from a coffee shop." The answer felt strange, but I let it go. I wish I hadn't. Weeks passed. Sophie's confidence grew. She started speaking over me during meetings. Correcting me in front of clients. Finishing my sentences. Whenever someone praised my work, she somehow found a way to include herself. The worst part, people believed her. She had a way of making every story sound believable. Meanwhile, I started looking like the difficult employee. One afternoon, I arrived at work earlier than usual. The office was almost empty. As I walked toward the conference room, I heard voices inside. Sophie's voice, and my manager's. "Emma doesn't have the same energy anymore. We need someone younger." "Someone younger?" I stood frozen. "I think clients connect better with Sophie," my manager replied. "She's the future." My stomach dropped. I wanted to walk in. I wanted answers. Instead, I quietly walked away. For the first time since joining the company, I cried in my car before work. That night Daniel noticed I was quiet. "Everything okay?" I almost told him. Instead, I smiled. "I've just had a hard day." He hugged me. "I'll always be here." Those words comforted me. For exactly one more week. Because 7 days later, I came home early. Daniel wasn't expecting me. The apartment was silent. Except, I heard laughter. Soft laughter. Coming from the kitchen. I slowly walked closer. Then stopped. Daniel stood there, facing Sophie. She wasn't supposed to know where we lived. Yet there she was, drinking coffee from my favorite mug. The three of us stared at each other. Nobody spoke. Finally Daniel forced a smile. "Oh, I forgot to tell you. Sophie needed help with a project." "A project? At our apartment, on a Saturday?" Nothing about it made sense. Sophie quickly grabbed her bag. "It was nice seeing you." She left before I could ask another question. The silence afterward felt heavy. I looked at Daniel. "You've met before." He hesitated. "Only recently. But last week you said maybe you recognized her from a coffee shop." His face changed for just a second. Then he laughed. I must have remembered later. Something inside me whispered, "He's lying." It wasn't proof, just a feeling. But sometimes, a feeling is the first warning the truth gives us. Over the next month, everything fell apart. At work, Sophie was suddenly leading projects I had started. At home, Daniel was always busy. Late meetings, extra work, dead phone battery. The excuses never ended. I stopped sleeping well. I started questioning myself. Was I becoming paranoid? Was stress making me imagine problems that weren't there? Then something happened that I couldn't explain away. One Monday morning, the company announced a surprise meeting. Everyone gathered in the conference room. Our CEO smiled proudly. "I'm excited to announce our new department manager." I felt my heart racing. This was the promotion I'd worked years for. The CEO looked toward Sophie. "Congratulations." The room exploded with applause. I couldn't even clap. I just stared. My manager avoided eye contact. Sophie walked to the front. Then, she looked directly at me. Not with kindness, not with gratitude, but with victory, a smile that silently said, I won. That afternoon, security asked me to move into a smaller desk because Sophie's new office had once been mine. I packed my things in silence. Family photos, coffee mug, notebook, 3 years of memories, reduced to a cardboard box. As I carried it across the office, Sophie softly said, I hope there are no hard feelings. I looked into her eyes. For a second, I almost believed she meant it. But something about her smile felt rehearsed. Like she wasn't celebrating success. She was celebrating replacing me. I didn't know how she had done it. I didn't know why Daniel suddenly seemed so connected to her. I didn't have proof of anything. Only questions. But one thing had become painfully clear. Someone had carefully taken my place. At work. And maybe, in my personal life too. What I didn't know was that the answers were already hiding in plain sight. And soon, the truth would begin revealing itself in ways none of us expected. The next morning, I walked into the office with one promise to myself. I wasn't going to beg for my position. I wasn't going to argue. And I definitely wasn't going to let anyone see me break. If Sophie wanted my office, she could have it. But she wasn't going to take my dignity. I sat at my new desk in the corner of the room and tried to focus on my work. Around me, everyone congratulated Sophie. Balloons filled her office. People laughed. They brought her coffee and gifts. Not one person noticed me. Or maybe they noticed. They just chose not to care. Around noon, my coworker Lily quietly sat beside me. I don't think this was fair, she whispered. I forced a smile. Life isn't always fair. Lily looked around to make sure no one was listening. I shouldn't tell you this. My heart skipped. But I heard something last week. What? She lowered her voice. I heard Sophie telling your manager that some of your biggest ideas actually came from her. I stared at her. What? I didn't believe it. But she sounded convincing. Suddenly everything made sense. The presentations. The missing credit. The strange meetings. Someone hadn't just replaced me. Someone had been rewriting my story. That evening, I went home hoping Daniel would make the day better. Instead, his suitcase was sitting on the bed. We need to talk, he said. Those 4 words never bring good news. He couldn't even look at me. I think we need some space. Space? I asked quietly. I've changed. No, I replied. You've been hiding something. He stayed silent. Silence can answer questions words never will. He picked up his suitcase. I'm sorry. Then he walked out. Just like that. 4 years together. Gone in less than 4 minutes. I didn't chase him. I didn't scream. After the door closed, I simply sat on the floor. Sometimes pain is so deep. Even tears refused to come. The next few days were the hardest of my life. I avoided friends, ignored phone calls, questioned every decision I'd ever made. Was I really not good enough? Had everyone simply moved on without me? Then, late one night, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. You don't know me, but you deserve the truth. Attached was a photo, Daniel and Sophie, sitting together at a restaurant. The date stamp showed it had been taken 3 months ago, 3 months before Daniel left me. Before Sophie became manager. Before everything fell apart. My hands started shaking. I looked at the picture again. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't friendship. This was a secret. The next morning I replied. Who are you? Hours passed. Finally another message arrived. Someone who got lied to too. Nothing else. No name. No explanation. Only those words. I realized something terrifying. If they had lied to me, who else had they lied to? From that moment, I stopped feeling sorry for myself. Instead, I started paying attention. Every email, every meeting, every conversation. People think the truth hides forever. It doesn't. It leaves tiny cracks. You just have to notice them. One afternoon, Sophie rushed into a meeting without her laptop. She asked me to grab it from her office. For a second I hesitated. Then I walked in. Her desk looked perfect. Almost too perfect. As I reached for the laptop, a folder slipped onto the floor. Papers scattered everywhere. I bent down to pick them up. One document caught my eye. It was one of my original marketing plans. My name had been erased. Sophie's name had been typed over it. I froze. There were more. Another proposal. Another campaign. Another client strategy. All mine. All renamed. My breathing became heavier. This wasn't just unfair. It was planned. I quickly placed everything back exactly where I found it. I couldn't risk being caught. Not yet. Because now, I finally had a reason to keep digging. That weekend, Lily called me. I think you should see something. We met at a small cafe. She looked nervous. I've been feeling guilty. She handed me a flash drive. These are backup files from our shared server. Why are you giving me this? Because someone deleted the originals. My heart raced. At home, I opened the drive. Hundreds of files appeared. Most were ordinary. Until I found the project history. Every document showed timestamps. My name. My edits. My work. Weeks before Sophie's versions even existed. The evidence was undeniable. Someone had copied everything. But exposing stolen work wasn't enough. I still couldn't explain Daniel. Then another message arrived from the anonymous number. You're looking in the right place, but you're still missing the biggest secret. I immediately replied, what secret? No answer. Hours turned into days. Nothing. Whoever this person was, they knew much more than I did. The following Tuesday, the company hosted an important client dinner. Everyone attended. Daniel was there too, not as my guest, but standing beside Sophie. Watching them together felt like reopening a wound that had barely started healing. Then something unexpected happened. One of the senior clients walked over to me. I've missed working with you. I smiled politely. Thank you. He frowned. I've been wondering why you suddenly stopped leading our campaigns. I didn't. He looked confused. Sophie told us you decided to step away. I felt my stomach drop. Another lie. Another piece of my life rewritten without my knowledge. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about one promotion. Someone had carefully built their success. Using my reputation, using my work, and maybe, even using my relationship. As the dinner ended, I noticed Sophie arguing quietly with Daniel in the parking lot. They didn't know I was nearby. I couldn't hear every word. Only one sentence. Sophie looked angry and said, I told you we'd never get caught. Daniel's face turned pale. My heart started pounding. Caught? Caught doing what? Before I could move closer, they noticed me. Their conversation stopped instantly. Daniel quickly walked away. Sophie forced another perfect smile. But this time, I saw fear behind it. For the first time since all of this began. She looked worried, and that's when I knew. The truth wasn't hiding anymore. It was starting to chase them. Part 3. The truth found her first. That night, I couldn't sleep. The words kept repeating in my mind. I told you we'd never get caught. Caught doing what? Stealing my work, lying to clients, or something even bigger. For the first time in months, I wasn't afraid anymore. I was determined. The next morning, I called the anonymous number. To my surprise, someone answered. A woman's voice. Soft, nervous. I wasn't sure you'd call, she said. Who are you? I asked. There was a long silence. My name is Rachel. I used to work at your company. I frowned. I've never heard of you. You weren't supposed to. Rachel explained that she had worked there 2 years earlier. She had also been promised a promotion. But just before the announcement, her ideas began appearing under someone else's name. She complained. No one believed her. Eventually, she resigned. I thought I was the problem, she said quietly. Until I saw your story repeating itself. My heart sank. So this has happened before? Yes. And Sophie, Rachel sighed. She wasn't the first person to play the game, but she became very good at it. Then Rachel told me something that changed everything. Months before Sophie joined the company, she had become close friends with one of the senior managers outside work. That friendship opened doors that no ordinary employee had. While everyone admired Sophie's confidence, very few questioned how quickly she gained influence. Rachel had saved copies of old emails before leaving the company. I think you'll need these, she said. An hour later, she sent me a folder. Inside were emails, project drafts, and meeting notes. Piece by piece, the puzzle finally came together. Sophie had quietly collected other people's work, presented it as her own, and convinced management she was the driving force behind successful campaigns. Most employees never realized it, because everyone only saw a small part of the picture. But now, I had the whole picture. There was only one question left. What should I do with it? For a moment, I imagined confronting Sophie in front of everyone. I imagined watching her panic, watching her explain herself. But anger fades, evidence lasts. So instead of making a scene, I organized everything: original project files, email timestamps, server records, client messages, Rachel's documents, Lily's backup files. Every piece supported the next. There was no guessing anymore. Only facts. I requested a private meeting with the company's CEO. Not my manager, the CEO. When I walked into his office, he smiled politely. What can I do for you? I placed a thick folder on his desk. I think you should read this before saying anything. For almost 30 minutes, he read every page. His expression slowly changed. Curiosity, confusion, then complete silence. Finally he looked up. Why didn't anyone bring this to me sooner? I tried to speak, I replied. But nobody wanted to listen. He nodded slowly. I'll investigate immediately. For the first time in months, someone believed me. 3 days later, the company announced an emergency leadership meeting. Every department attended. The atmosphere felt tense. Nobody knew why we had been called together. The CEO stepped onto the stage. He didn't smile. Our internal review has uncovered serious problems involving project ownership and inaccurate reporting. The room became silent. He displayed documents on the large screen. Original files, dates, edits, email records. One after another, people began whispering. Then he showed 2 versions of the same project. Mine, and Sophie's. The differences were almost invisible. Except for one detail, the author's name. Every eye turned toward Sophie. She looked completely shocked. She tried to speak. There must be some misunderstanding. But the evidence kept appearing. One file after another, one project after another. Her confidence slowly disappeared. Even my manager looked speechless. The CEO finally said, until this review is complete, Sophie is removed from all leadership responsibilities. The room stayed silent. No applause. No celebration. Only truth. After the meeting ended, people who had ignored me for months suddenly wanted to talk. I'm so sorry. We had no idea. You deserved better. I thanked them politely, but I wasn't looking for apologies anymore. I had already found peace. Then Daniel appeared outside the building. He looked exhausted. I made the biggest mistake of my life, he said. I looked at him quietly. I know. I believed things that weren't true. I know. I want another chance. For months, I had imagined this conversation. I thought it would make me happy. Instead, I felt nothing. Sometimes closure isn't getting revenge. Sometimes it's realizing you've outgrown the person who hurt you. I smiled gently. I hope you learn from this. Then I walked away, without anger, without tears, without looking back. A few weeks later, the company's investigation ended. The CEO called me into his office once again. He apologized for everything that had happened. Several leadership changes followed. My work was officially credited back to me. More importantly, policies were introduced so every project would clearly record its original creator. No one else would lose years of hard work the way I had. As for Sophie, she disappeared quietly from the company. No dramatic goodbye, no final speech, just silence, the same silence she had left behind for others. Months passed. Life slowly became peaceful again. I found a better apartment, spent more time with my family, started laughing again, and eventually, I accepted a leadership role, not because I wanted to prove anyone wrong, but because I finally believed in myself again. Looking back now, I understand something I didn't know before. People can take your position. They can spread lies. They can even convince others to doubt you. But they cannot hide the truth forever. Because the truth has a strange way of finding everyone. Sooner or later. And when it arrives, it doesn't need loud words. It simply speaks for itself. If you're watching this while feeling betrayed, remember this. Don't rush to get even. Don't let anger make your choices. Protect your integrity. Keep your evidence. Stay patient. Because lies need constant effort to survive. The truth only needs one opportunity. In the end, she took my place. She enjoyed the attention. She believed she had won. But she forgot one thing. You can replace a person. You can steal credit. You can fool people for a while. But you can never outrun the truth. The truth found her first. End of story.